The season finale.
The season finale.
The season finale.
Here we are.
We've been recording for 8 months, every week.
Oh, gosh.
Can you believe it? We have now in total in our catalogue over a year's worth of weekly podcasts.
That's insane. Makes me tired just thinking about it.
I know. But it's been a joy every week.
It has.
It's been a joy every week. Welcome again to another podcast. Father and son talk faith and footy, against the grain, as it's better known.
Yeah. both ends.
It's a season finale, so we're going to have some fun with it. Stay tuned until the end of the show. We have some massive news. Huge news. It's going to be massive news. We've got a very special announcement. We're going to announce the winner of Bips Tips. It's going to be so good.
Neither can we.
And you can see here we've got 2 vacant seats. We've got 2 special guests that are going to join us very, very shortly. Mm-hmm. But we thought we'd start this season finale off with our heads because, quite frankly, that's where it all began. Yeah. So we are very aware that we have obligations to sponsors. So take it away.
That is correct. Not inappropriate. Anyway, so thank you to MJ Podiatry. MJ Podiatry has supported us throughout this whole year. Thank you to the team there. Just to remind everyone at home, MJ Podiatry is a mobile home visit network servicing all throughout Sydney. They're an all-round podiatry service, giving general treatments, anything for sport as well, and NDIS and home care packaging are available as well. For any pains, injuries, custom-made orthotics, advice on footwear. For the last time this season, MJ Podiatry doesn't just have your back, they have your feet. So please contact MJ Podiatry on 0412 389 278 or email them at info@mjpodiatry.com.au, and don't forget the ATG 10 promo code for 10% off. Love it.
While we're promoting things, just before we get into the community notice board, I haven't said like, subscribe, follow, comment in a very long time.
So true.
Very long time. We know that this show is shared among many people. Check out this episode with the Archbishop or that episode with Francis Molo or Bishop Umbers. When you're sharing episodes, so you keep up to date, so it stays in your feed, please subscribe. Don't just watch us, but subscribe to us on all the other media platforms, all the ones that were previously existent and no longer are existent, and the ones that exist now. Just like them all, follow them all, and keep up to date, because what we tend to do, whilst we do produce a lot of content each and every week, as we did last year in our off-season, there might be some best bits or some highlights that we might produce as shorts or short clips that keep the channel going. So you want to be up to date with that, and it's always very nice to revisit episodes to find those nuggets of gold in there that previously on first viewing or listening you may not pick up on. So that's the importance of subscribing so you stay up to date with all of it. I've got a few community notices. We've got a lot of things happening in Sydney as I'm battling through this cough that I've got. Many things coming up in Sydney over the next few months. One of the really exciting ones is going to be the Christmas lights at the cathedral. Put on every year by the cathedral in conjunction with the City of Sydney. Artwork, lights, food stalls, choir performances. It's just a beautiful time of year, so keep an eye out for all of that. And once it's all, I think it's on for about 2 weeks from about mid-December up until Christmas. So that's always a beautiful evening to get out into the city. We had a men's night the other night, and it was a beautiful evening, showcasing a lot of great food, tips on how to barbecue, all that kind of stuff. A couple of half-decent speakers as well. But we've got another one coming up for the Sutherland Shire Network. It's going to be held at the Gaimea Hotel on the 25th of November. Footy, Faith and Friends, all-star lineup of athletes. We've got James Graham, former Bulldog. We've got Bryson Goodwin, also a former Bulldog, but rugby union player as well. I think later on in his career he went to rugby union.
I didn't know that.
And then Ty Keneally from the Sydney Swans. So they're going to be there. Myself, Father Dan, Just another great event for men. That flyer will be on the screen as I'm speaking. Great initiative that the Archdiocese of Sydney is putting on through Sydney Catholic Schools in having these men's evenings. So it gives dads, grandfathers, uncles, sons an opportunity to come into a space and talk about things. They're doing the same with women's networks as well. So I'm liking the fact that they're diversifying and that they're putting these on, especially in spaces where it's much needed. So we encourage everyone to get out to that. The Eyewitness Retreat or Conference is coming up. They've a couple of years hiatus on that, but that's back, 12th to the 15th of December. At the ranch in Cobbitty. And the theme of this year's Eyewitness is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you to give you hope and a future. So calling all young adults to that particular event. Eyewitness is always a great event. Anthony, you want to maybe give it your own promo, what your own experience of Eyewitness has been?
Yeah, I try and get out to it every year. I haven't been successful in that, but I think since 2019, that was my first year going. It's the thing I look forward to every year. It's one of the best experiences I've had each year. And it's just a chance, firstly, to deepen your faith, your knowledge of the faith. More importantly, your prayer life with perpetual adoration throughout the conference. And then just meeting great like-minded people who you just form bonds with even after Eyewitness. So I can't personally speak highly enough of Eyewitness. I love it. So I encourage anyone and everyone to get your tickets, go for the whole conference if you can. There are options for just the weekend if you can't get out of work or anything. Yeah, I honestly can't encourage people to go enough.
And a few of those speakers at Eyewitness will be Sister Anastasia, Tanya Amak from the Life, Marriage and Family Office, and Father Aloysius Rego. So a beautiful Carmelite priest. So these
and more.
And more. So there'll be couples obviously giving testimonies, and you mentioned that it was a great opportunity for people that are like-minded to come together. But in my experience of Eyewitness, we have people that have been questioning come to these types of events.
Yes, yeah.
So we've had atheists, we've had people of other Christian denominations. They come to these things, they see the joy, they see the beauty of the church, they see faith and reason coming together.
Yeah, great
There's
point.
great social time. So I think it's for everyone, really.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll have some like-minded ones there too. So it's one of those events that's just really beautiful to be part of.
Yeah, and for wherever you're at in your faith life, it fits you perfectly. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
Eyewitness. I was chaplain to Eyewitness in my first year as a priest. I assisted as a deacon the year before, and then before that, I was part of the serving team every other year since I basically joined seminary. So I loved Eyewitness that much that I was pretty much there every year. So please, everyone, get out to that. It's been revived. We're back on now. So help the guys, the organisers, out by booking your tickets as early as you can, and be a part of it. And our final event coming up, which is something a little different, is the writings of John Paul II, presented by the Theology of the Body Institute, put on by the Sydney Archdiocese, from the 19th to the 24th of January next year, held at the Benedict XVI Retreat Centre. All of the details will be on the screen there. If you ever wanted to know about the Church's teaching on sexuality, married couples, if you want to talk about how you can grow closer and more intimate with each other, I'm looking at the camera there, so
sorry. And I was like, I don't know if my arm's in
no,
the way.
it's okay. I was just like, I wasn't gonna be talking about intimacy and looking you in the eye because it was a bit weird. So I thought I'd look into the camera. But the JP2 Institute, TOB Institute, I should say, are putting on, and from what I've heard, only amazing things. So couples, single people, 19th to the 24th of January. Check out all the details on the screen as we speak. That's the community notice board and the end of it for this year, I think.
Love it.
So that's a community notice board.
So much happening.
We are going to switch gears This was a great gift given to me by Catholic Weekly journalist George Alakiki. Very former journalist George Alakiki. All the best with your future endeavours. But this was an extremely thoughtful gift. The guy actually has heard me many times say we're going to switch gears, and he bought me a gear shift thing, and he's inscribed on it faith and footy. So whenever we change gears from footy to faith, or we're turning from community notice board to something else, I got to use it in our final episode for the year. So I'm very thankful to George. You had a great episode with Anthony a few weeks ago, mate. So thank you very much. But let's do it, because we haven't done it in a while. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. We never actually spoke, Father, about the grand final.
We didn't, but we were going to transition into the grand final by first getting into the...
Oh, yeah. What a shank.
Off the tee, completely missed.
Mate, that's a shank if ever I've seen one. Well, we haven't done it in so long, that's why.
Yes, that's right.
It's just out, but it's coming back. I can feel it. It's in there, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for... What is that?
That's me giving you the whole, just channel it.
Oh,
just channel it.
I thought you were doing awkward turtle or whatever.
No, that's awkward turtle.
What is that? All right, anyway, sorry, yes, so channeling, sure, whatever. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is now time for Father Ben's Big Hit of the Week. Return edition. So just to remind everyone at home, again, just that's what I do. I remind people is our big hit segment.
After I remind you to remind people.
That's so true. I'm just the messenger. Is what was I saying? Oh yeah, the big hit segment. There we go. Is sponsored. I am thrown off. Is sponsored by Total's Tours Clothing. So, as always, check them out. Ooh, we haven't done this in a while. Check them out. There we go. Have a look at all their clothing. They have some brilliant designs. And as always, don't just evangelize through your words and actions, though they are the most important. You can also evangelize through your clothing. So thank you to Totus Tours. Anyway, where are we at? I don't know. Let's just play
the video.
Get us out of this right now.
Play the video. Let's go. Manly with the ball. Oh, big hits. Big hits. How do I pronounce his name? Christian Tuipilatu and Jaden Sewer on DCE.
Tuipilatu. Yeah, you're good. You went that far off. This is another angle. Bang.
Oh. Yeah.
Talk smack, get smacked, as they say.
Yeah. Wow. Crunched.
Yeah, that's the way.
Big hit.
There are a few people in the NRL that you like to see get smacked as much as DCE.
DCE is just one of those guys that just reliable.
Yeah, he is.
Like the way that he steps up for Queensland, the way he plays for Manly. Well-spoken young man too. Like you hear him in interviews.
Yeah.
He's articulate. He doesn't and ah. He doesn't drop the whole, full credit to the boys, all that kind of stuff. Like he actually thinks through his responses.
He is good.
And he doesn't give you the cliche responses.
Yeah, so true. So true. And he's become more consistent with age. Like a fine wine.
Like a fine wine. DCE, God bless you, brother. You're the recipient of the season finale's big hit of the week.
Yeah, I like that.
Wonderful.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Who knows? We'll send you your participation award in the mail. Everyone gets those these days.
Yeah, so true. You don't need to do much for that.
I know. Well, look, let's talk a bit of grand final.
Oh, yeah.
Because the last time that we spoke about the footy together, I don't think I was even part of it. You were previewing the grand final, I think, with George. Was it?
Yeah.
So it's been weeks now since the grand final. Penrith came away with their 4th consecutive trophy.
Yeah.
For me, cementing them as the greatest team of the modern era in the game. Yeah. I'd say I'm pretty confident in saying that. Yep. Especially, one could argue, one could argue, since the inception of the game itself, considering how difficult it is in this day and age to keep players in salary caps, considering all of those factors. I mean, you've got St. George winning their 11 straight or whatever it was, but I don't know what the circumstance was there.
No salary cap. They were the richest club, or one of at least. Yeah, different things. It's without taking away credit from that Dragons team, it just isn't the same as what Penrith are doing now.
Yeah, so Penrith had the 4. Cleary again just controlled everything, dominated. Isaiah Yeo, one of the greatest players in the game. I think he cemented his legacy in that game. But I'm going to stick to what I said last season when we reviewed the last grand final. I'm going to stick to it. Cleary just shone in that last 20 minutes of the 2023 grand final. He shone in all 80 minutes of this year's grand final. I think he's the GOAT. I really do. And I don't buy into, even though I'm not a footy legend of any sort, but you often get this in every sport, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. You get the legends of the game that do give him his flowers. Like they do compliment him.
Yeah.
They do talk about how great he is. But with what he's achieved, he should be an immortal. Like there should just be no question about the fact that he should be an immortal.
Wow.
But some people actually diss on the current crop of players. It's like, the game's not the way it used to be 20 years ago.
Oh, gosh.
Like they do the same thing in basketball as well. It's like if a young man today was playing 20 years ago, he'd be crunched because of the change in the rules and all that kind of stuff. So we do have this ability to critique going era to era, rule changes, this, that, the other. But the consistency, the ability to play through injury, the ability to come back from prolonged periods and then just slot in as the best player in the game without finding your feet again.
So true.
I just think he's the best player that we've seen.
Yeah.
That's my own opinion. I'd like to know your thoughts.
Well, I think you're making massive calls that people aren't ready to say yet. But I think you're pretty spot on. I agree with you. People who say... So there are people who argue that he's not the greatest of all time, and then they might look at the way Andrew Johns or someone, Jonathan Thurston, whoever played, and I get that, that's fair. But if you're one of the people who say, this is what I was thinking about after this grand final. If you're one of the people who still says now after that grand final that he still needs to win an Origin before being called the GOAT, I'm like, does he really? Like 4 premierships in a row, that's 25 to 27 games over time per year, where he's carved up. He's led them to each premiership. He led them to the 2020 grand final. So 5 grand finals in a row, 4 premierships in a row, with completely different teams. This year, by far, the worst in terms of big names and things like that. Not that they were bad or anything, no disrespect to them, but just losing those big name players. It's like 3 Origin games a year are going to now determine if he's the GOAT or not when he's gone 25 to 27 games per year for 5 years straight and led them. I don't know.
Well, I'm having dinner with a person that says that about him tomorrow, and I'll let him know how wrong he actually is.
He said it on here. he said it on here. But after the grand final, I just thought, no, you can't say that anymore.
You know what would be an interesting concept? Imagine, I know we have the World Club Challenge every year, but imagine having Penrith, their premiership winning team, play a selected New South Wales team or an Australian team.
Oof. Well, they make up most of those teams.
Exactly. But what I'm getting at is...
Yeah.
Because Cleary plays his best in the structures that he trains in consistently with, well, you don't probably get that through New South Wales and Australian teams. I'm not making excuses, but if you were to put all of Penrith's first grade team untouched against the best players in the NRL in an Australian team, for example, I think Penrith would still beat that team.
I think Penrith will beat the current Australian Pacific Championships team for sure.
So that'd be an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
Is have the premiership winning team play a selected superstar team.
Yeah.
Where you can pick from any, not even that, you could pick from an all-star team. Any player in the NRL, make a team to play Penrith.
Wow.
That would be a concept.
That takes a bit more thinking, but that'd be awesome.
And I still think Penrith would win.
Yeah.
Just because
They
of their
could.
structures and their team and their cohesion. I don't know.
The chemistry's there. Then, yeah, it's like I even think I gave them almost no hope to win 4 in a row this year, like until the end. But I almost think they can go 5 in a row, even with even with Luai leaving and Taruva, who I don't think is as big a loss, obviously, but like their system, so it just holds up. They've got the solid players they won't let go. Isaiah Yeo, like you mentioned, Nathan Cleary. I don't see them ever letting go of Liam Martin.
Didn't he have a game?
Loss. Yeah,
didn't he have a game in the grand final?
Do you know the story of Liam Martin and his brother?
No.
So Phil Gould said after the grand final, he said it was tough for his mum to let him go to Penrith, like to live with the boys and whatever, because of the situation with his brother. And then my sister-in-law sent a message and said, what happened to his brother? And I was like, I don't know. So I did some research. His brother, I think because of injuries or not being able to make the team or something, he was making it in league, but then just never cracked first grade or something, or got injured and something like that. Anyway, he ended up unfortunately taking his own life.
God rest him.
And so that obviously would affected Liam Martin, of course, but also his mum, because she was like, how am I going to now let him go play footy, and how am I going to entrust him to the club and whatever? And look at him now, and apparently he's one of the softest hearted people in the team.
Yeah.
And you can see how much he just loves he treats them like they're his brothers. It was just a beautiful story after the success, the performance, and then getting that Clive Churchill medal. It was
well earned.
Yeah.
He was definitely the best player in that game.
Oh yeah.
Work
Special.
ethic, just
everything.
Speaking of work ethic, I have not seen such an intense 80 minutes in my life. Probably outside of Origin, but Penrith kept, Melbourne were with them.
Yeah.
But then in the end, I think the superior strength and conditioning of Penrith just got them over the line, because they ground them into submission. They just kept going at that pace for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas Melbourne were on their feet. They couldn't wait for half time to get there. And then as it got to about the 60-minute mark again, which is what we've seen any team that tries to come close to Penrith do, when it hits that 60-minute mark, they're just gone.
Yeah.
And so, what a game.
Yeah.
No, not much by way of razzle-dazzle, but just
a gritty footy game.
Great grand final.
Yeah,
Were there any highlights in that game that you wanted to discuss?
You know what? There was, it was Jonathan Thurston talked about it after the game. The one play for Taruva's try. But it was so brilliant. That play was I guess the reward, the visible reward, or the visible sign of how well they prepared all season, but especially for the grand final. I've never seen Storm outplayed the way they were in that grand final against Penrith. And it's not like they played bad or anything. It's just Penrith had answers to everything. And it was, so the Taruva try, the week before, who did they verse in the prelims? Roosters, I think. Yeah, something like that. They had a left side play. Essentially what happened is, was it Cleary or Luai? Anyway, it's so far back now, sorry. Anyway, they just normal left side play, and then Alamotti would run that straight line, that hole, and then they just gave a flat ball to him, and he went through and scored. Yeah, against Roosters, that was the play. So they ran that exact same play against Storm, who would have done their video, and everything that the Storm did in defense was perfect to to defend that play that they saw against Roosters. So what Penrith did is play that exact same play, but instead of Alamotti running that hole, like running all the way through, he ran the hole, stopped, turned, and gave it back to Luai. And they just created that overlap for Taruva. It was, that was like just perfect play. And it's exactly what they did in training. There's a video you can find like on social media. I think the Panthers put it up, of them doing that exact play in training, and then it transitioned to the game, and it was just so perfectly done, and they just outclassed, like they outplayed Storm. Yeah. Storm had no answers, and Penrith had every single answer. So that was the highlight, I think.
Amazing grand final.
Dylan Edwards try savers.
Oh,
other highlights. That guy's not going anywhere as well. He's one of the players.
I mean, you keep it consistent across the board. And as we've spoken about plenty of times before, you keep the structures, you keep the systems. If you've got talent and you're prepared to put the team before yourself, you'll just be successful when you play with Penrith. So, I mean,
so true.
Alamotti's just laughing his way to the bank right now. Like left the Dogs.
So true.
Got a spot in Penrith. Won a premiership. It's like
what a beast. He's loving life.
So good.
Not to mention, just last thing on Cleary, with a busted shoulder, he's playing that game.
Yep.
And probably with his hammy not being 100% as well throughout the whole season. This guy's, he's a nutcase.
Amazing.
So good.
Amazing. Penrith, well done. 4 premierships in a row, 5 grand finals in a row. And we may see a 6th consecutive grand final appearance end of next year. Who knows? Time will tell.
Let's hope so.
Time will tell.
I'm a fan of history.
Against the Bulldogs. Penrith versus Bulldogs grand final 2025.
I love it.
Oracle spoken.
Call it.
Called.
Done.
Called.
What a beast. Go.
So that's grand final. And now Pacific Championships. No one really cares about that.
What a savage.
No, you do.
I've watched every game. It's been good.
We do, but it's hard with the time differences. Because some of them played overseas. Weren't some played in the UK or anything like that?
Oh, that's not part of the Pacific Championship.
What's that?
That's the 2 test series between England and Samoa.
Oh, I didn't watch any of that.
Yeah, I stayed up and watched that last night. Do you know what the highlight was? Samoa was so disappointing and sad. Yeah, I swear. I was so upset that they... Anyway, it's when you don't have halves, it's a problem. Anyway, the highlight of that match...
Where's the PC being played?
It's like...
In the Pacifics.
Yeah, in the Pacifics.
That would make sense.
Yes, that's
what it's called.
So Papua New Guinea, Fiji,
gotcha.
Australia, they're playing New
So
Zealand.
time zones are respectable.
They are, yeah.
I haven't been watching it. Sorry.
Tough when you have plans at night, and things to do. But they've been entertaining to watch. But the highlight of the Samoa England game was after they did the Siva Tau. I don't know sorry for any Samoan viewers if I butchered that pronunciation, but they're like, you know how they get in their faces and stuff, and like people stare down, and then the whole team walked off, and Francis Molo is there staring down one England player, and George Williams, I don't know who that player was, and George Williams was there as well, like backing his English player up. Like his teammate who wasn't playing had to come and grab him, Francis Molo, and like bring him back.
Our very own Francis Molo.
Francis Molo, the one that was on the show, he was just staring him down. I recorded it. I was like, this is the best thing ever.
He didn't want to step away.
Did not.
He was first to step away.
Yeah. He had to be
pulled.
pulled.
That loses.
Yeah, exactly. So
traditional stare down away. Like in the fight game.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was so, like not a fight or anything. They were just standing there stone faced, just staring at each other.
Who's going to crack first?
And I was like, yeah. And like...
I would have been like...
Just do is it the Maori... The Maori...
Oh, the nose wiggle
the nose
thing?
rub. Imagine he did. I reckon he would have smacked the guy. I reckon if he did that. But that was the highlight. That was so good. Oh, man. Anyway, the game was disappointing. Francis Molo played well, though. Yeah, but anyway.
Well, that's a footy season.
Yeah.
Well done, Penrith, again. 2024 premiers. Yeah. Well done. Our socials queen Sarah, welcome.
Thanks
Do we
for
have
having me.
Yeah, those sound effects.
And he's doing what he's best at, fiddling around with technology. But our Catholic wizard, Mr. Anthony Costa, welcome.
G'day. the first time we've all been on the show together.
Aw,
It is. It
that's
actually
cute.
is.
Testing
Beautiful
1,
way
2.
to do it.
It's actually quite cozy.
End of season.
Yeah.
It is.
Snuggle up.
It is.
Wait a minute.
Wait a damn.
Well,
Hey,
welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. So this is, for those at home, you're seeing what goes into the production of ATG each and every week. All four of us, we have our own chat group on WhatsApp. We're always messaging each other. We're calling
up?
each other. We're riling each other up. We're telling each other when we're free, when we're not. Sarah abuses us. She tells us to get on with life. Like, why don't you have proper jobs when she's at school working? It's like,
Sorry.
I mean, God bless her. I mean,
gosh.
it's just, this is a group. This is what brings to you an episode each and every week. So it's good in this final episode of the season to have all four of us together. And I thought, what do I do? There were many episodes where it was just the two of us. Yes, Anthony? Tell me.
I just thought of a horrible thing to say.
Say it. Say it.
Go on.
If it's bad, we'll edit it out.
I was just gonna say, like, now you know, like, if you see Sarah and Anthony, if you see them around, then you can, have a chat with them, thank them for the work they've done in bringing you Against the Grain. Maybe take a photo with them, not with your students though.
Oh my gosh.
What was bad about that? That's supportive and responsible.
It is
There's
responsible.
a few little personal jokes in that one.
Oh, I get it. Okay. No need to edit out.
Yeah.
All good. All good.
But it was nice that they've come up and said hello, and
Yeah.
a few people have asked if I'm the Catholic wizard. And I've had to remind people that name's been given to me by a priest, so it's okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's so true.
So
Can't believe
what
it.
I thought we would
That's
do,
concerning.
what I
It
thought
just
we,
popped into my head.
yeah,
Sorry.
what I thought we would
Same
do
here.
is
Oh,
just, we had many episodes where it was just Anthony and I this season. So we're not going to review those episodes, but we've had a star-studded list and lineup of people on our show for 8 months now. And so I'm just going to rattle off the names, and then maybe by way of what was most attractive to you or what really hit home, where there was maybe a life-changing message or even something that, amongst family and friends, they're like, oh, we watched this episode. It was a powerful episode. Not even restricted to the episode. It could even be a short that we've produced or a clip or whatever, something that gained traction, something that went viral, something that had the community talking. So I'm going to read out the names and then just chime in after that and let us know what for you was a highlight. So he felt like a season 1 interview, but he wasn't. Father Sam
That
French,
shocks me. That was this season.
Mr. Instagram himself,
Yeah.
Mr. TikTok, Mr. Rapper, Mr. Body popping,
yes.
pop icon. Like, he's singing now in clips. He's
Rapping.
doing all sorts of things. He was recently in America, and people on the streets of America know him. That's how big he is.
What a
So the
boss.
Father Sam French episode was special for me because he's a classmate of mine. We were in seminary together.
Yeah.
He was a great episode.
Awesome.
We had premiership winning Steve Lawrence come on the show.
AFL premiership.
AFL player
Yep.
for the Hawthorn Hawks.
It was awesome.
We had Adam Dewey. He set the record straight. It's Dewey. It's not Dwayhe. It's really Dwayhe. But he said that he and his father have agreed, and that's what they want. They want Dewey, so all good. We had Mr. Better Together, Rob Rush, on the show. Wasn't that a conversation, honestly? Rob Rush, fantastic. We had...
I'm trying to.
Give it together.
No, and look, I'll tell you the reason we're laughing. Sometimes we get on the show and we have no idea the way a conversation's going to go. But with Rob, and he'll be very happy for me to say this, Rob could talk underwater. And it was very difficult. As he came in, he was so excited and enthused to be on the show that before we started recording, I'm like, Rob, I've got to get a question in every now and then. So he was just...
I think he knew the show better than we knew.
He
the
knew
show.
the
Just
show.
quoting lines from other guests. So, yeah.
So
He was awesome.
the Rob Rush episode was a good episode. Then we had Jason Everett.
Jason Everett.
We had Jason Everett.
That
I
needs
can't
to be-
believe that.
Let's pause there for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had Jason Everett on our show.
That is
Okay.
incredible.
Yeah.
World-renowned.
In your
Yes.
garage.
World-renowned chastity speaker, relationship guru, and
Catholic guru.
Catholic guru. He went through the ringer. He came to Australia
Yeah.
at the cost of leaving his wife and his children. He had a great tour, but it was interrupted by witches,
Can of tomatoes.
can of tomatoes, and interfered with by some very weak leadership in some Catholic schools as well. So we called all that out on our show, but Jason's message, just to hear the way he speaks, the way he talks about relationships, sexuality, love of God, dignity of the human person, just amazing. So it was a blessing to have Jason on the show.
I loved how the first few episodes of Against the Grain last year would have been one of the first anyway. Anthony, you actually referenced Jason a few times, and you sent me the videos to put into the link description.
Yeah.
And then it was just funny that I thought it was humorous that we ended up during Purpose Conference to have a little chat with him. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. But then actually to have him here, and we have to thank Charbel Raish as well
100%.
for teeing that up. But I guess it was like just a little sign of when you really commit to something, maybe not the footy tipping, but when you really commit to something, you know, people that you aspire to, I guess, emulate in what they do, they end up on your show. I guess like it was just a good full circle thing for me.
Yeah.
To see that.
Yeah.
Did
That is
Jason have
such a
anything
dream.
to do with the schools around you? Was he around any of those schools?
We were one of the schools at Trinity that we took him in when other schools cancelled on him. So we had like emails going out last minute saying, let us know if you want to come. It was optional because it was going to happen during class time, I believe. But yeah, we were one of the schools that took him in.
So he came?
Yeah, but I was unfortunate because I was at the other campus, so I didn't get a chance to see him there.
Did they get a good turnout?
Most likely, yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, very good. One school's loss is another's gain.
Yes, correct.
Is 3 others gained.
3 others gain. He
Pretty
ended
sure
up
he made-
so many more schools
Yeah.
because of those cancellations.
But a lot of young impressionable students that missed out
Yep.
because of some silly minorities. Actually, it's not the silly minorities; it's the weak leadership that caved in to the silly minorities.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as a religion teacher, I've spoken to my year 8 students about things like sexuality and all that stuff. So for parents and schools to come out and say that that's not what they want their students to hear, then like where are they going to learn it and where are they going to hear it if not in a place that's like safe?
And is it the student that doesn't want to hear it? Generally not. It's always the parent or the person that's read the ABC article or the teacher that doesn't agree with the Catholic school teaching or whatever it might be.
Yep.
But just weakness overall.
I saw the sad. Sorry, Father Ben. I saw the sad. I was filming an event with Jason, and at a school, and there was a girls' school sitting in a row, and they were so engaged with what he was saying, and you just saw the school teacher. Obviously, I'm not going to mention the school, but you saw the school teacher rolling her eyes and giving sort of smart aleck sort of glances to the students, like that sort of
like,
thing.
is he serious? And,
And they were hanging on every word he was saying. In fact, they had photos with him afterwards and were talking to him. But I thought every word he's just said is about to be undermined in the bus ride on the way home.
Yeah.
And they're the sad things. That's the fight we're always up against.
Yeah. And they are, just to call a spade, they're the teachers that we need to weed out of the Catholic school system. They need to be weeded out. They have no right to be teachers in our schools. If you're not going to get on board with Catholic teaching, which ultimately will make you happy, objectively will make you happy, then just stay out of it. So
You don't even need to factor in the Catholic aspect to that.
Yeah.
Because
Just teach.
Yep. Don't force or...
And if you're a
your
supervisor on that day, then just supervise.
Yep.
Keep your mouth shut, just supervise.
Yep.
So
they're
true.
the types of things, they're the discussions that if those girls, for example, went home that day and they questioned things that he was saying, they have the right to discuss those with their parents. Not some random teacher that spends 6-7 hours a day that doesn't believe in the beauty of the message of Jesus Christ. So anyway.
Do you know what? Sorry, that just made me think of an experience I had when I was in school in year 12, I think. I think that's when the same-sex marriage plebiscite was happening. Was it 2017, around there?
Before then, wasn't it?
Was it before?
Oh, it could have been. I don't know.
It was year 11 or 12, I think.
Same-sex marriage was 2017.
Yeah,
18, around
Yeah,
probably
so
right.
around there. Anyway, some students in my class asked my modern history teacher about her thoughts. And she was like, so I still don't know what her personal views are on it. I'm pretty sure they'd be in line with the Catholic Church, and I hope they are, but I still don't know. But her answer was, I can't tell you what my personal perspective is, but I'll tell you what the Catholic teaching is. And I was like, she's like, because working in a Catholic school, I can tell you what the Catholic teaching is, or something like that. And so it wasn't like she was saying, I disagree with the Catholic teaching, but here it is. And it wasn't, I agree with the Catholic. It was just, here's the Catholic teaching because we're in a Catholic school.
God bless
and
her.
it never occurred to me until right now.
Yeah.
That's
what
the
an
most
answer.
credible response. Responsible and credible response is to keep emotion out of it and just stick to that.
Yeah, you're working in a Catholic school.
So that's
Teach
what
Catholic.
that's what the Jason Everett episode evoked in all of us, I think,
Yeah.
a little bit. That was just a blessing.
What a
When
dream.
you see him, like he was on the Matt Frad Pints with Aquinas recently, reliving
For like
those
the third time.
experiences.
Yeah.
He's spoken to hundreds of thousands of students, and we got to have him here in our humble little garage and record with him and Charbel. So having Jason on the show was a highlight. Charbel Rayish.
Was that this year or last year?
Was he?
I think he was first season.
He was.
But
he's been on.
he was on with Jason Everett.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He was on with Steve Lawrence, wasn't he?
Sharp's sort of legend.
No,
not
he-
Steve
no.
Lawrence.
he had separate.
Deacon
He was
Harold.
he was
Deacon
with us
Harold.
for Deacon Harold.
Yeah.
So Charbel Rayish and his apostolate of Perusia Media are just doing some amazing things and continue to bring out speakers and presenters and authors, and they're getting into everything. They're now digitizing, I think, a lot of their library.
Yep.
Because of the fact that people don't have CD players anymore. So they're upgrading with a lot. They're doing a lot of good work. So we had Jason Everett, part of the whole, I suppose, series on sexuality. The week after, we had Simon Carrington.
Yes.
So Simon Carrington came on the show, and he had some amazing things to talk about with his ministry in overcoming addiction to pornography and how to be a better man and better woman. And the Simon Carrington episode was extremely deep because he went into his own woundedness.
Yeah.
And he showed a very particular vulnerability there that is very hard to do
Yeah.
when you're in front of a camera. So
He does it so well.
Yeah.
I love Simon. What a man.
Simon rocked.
And Simon, just to put this out there as well, Simon has similar troubles to Jason Everett that Jason Everett had when he was here. Simon has that on a full-time basis because he lives in Australia. Is mainly adults, the parents and the teachers not wanting his message to be spread among their students or children. So we got him to do a talk at our teens group at St. Felix, and I thought it would be a good idea to have the teens just say what they felt like. With permission from their parents, we record them and things like that, take photos, and we can put them up on social media on the St. Felix page. And they had their own say on what they thought of his talk, and they all loved it. They loved it. The message is
I'm
people.
still trying to
young
work out
adults
what the
and
problem
children
with the
are-
message is.
Yeah.
Still trying to work that
They're
out.
craving that
Same
message.
with Jason.
Yeah.
That's odd, isn't it? It's like, why wouldn't you want to obviously clean up your own life to live happier? But why wouldn't you also want to give these messages that could potentially save the lives of your children?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, obviously you can go to its extreme in that comment, or save them from a life of addiction. Save them from a life of objectifying men and women.
Degeneracy.
Save
root
them
of
from
this
a
is-
life of entering into toxic relationships.
Yeah.
Why would you not want that?
The root of so much of it is hurt and trauma, and not embracing God's forgiveness. You know that, because what a lot, I honestly, I really do believe a lot of these people just don't even want to hear about it because it's going to make them face the music.
Yeah.
But I can honestly promise anyone that doesn't want to face the music, there is nothing but absolute grace and forgiveness waiting on the other side. There's no judgment.
Amen.
Yep.
So,
it.
you know, once you cross over to the other side, for lack of better phrasing, stop whinging.
Yeah.
What do you think of
Stop
those?
roadblocks.
Yeah. Well, as a high school teacher,
And a female.
and a female, is the message of a Jason Everett or a Simon Carrington, is that oppressive to you?
No.
Okay,
No.
elaborate.
Well, I remember when I was at St. Joseph's Croydon, I used to go to teams there quite often. They had Simon Carrington come in and do a talk. I think that was the first proper talk I ever had experienced. And he brought his, I don't know if he still does them, but it's like a purity card. And you sign your name and you basically promise to yourself that you're going to remain chaste and pure until the day that you're married. And I signed it.
And beyond.
And beyond, yeah, obviously. I signed it like having troubles as like a young teenager, like coming into the world of like boys and whatnot. And I always think about it. I have it stuck on my mirror, and I still to this day think about it in the times of my weaknesses and temptations. I think about this little card, little 13-year-old Sarah, and how I promised myself what I would be. And it encourages me. And so like Simon Carrington's always been a soft spot. I have a soft spot for him. Just because he really opened up my eyes into like who I should be as a woman, not in a like I'm a man and this is how you should act for other men, in a way of this is how God created you and this is how you perfectly fulfill your role as who you are created as to be, whatever.
Amen.
And I can pop in the description of this video a link to Simon's YouTube channel. I know Simon's sort of taking a bigger and deeper effort into the video content on YouTube now.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on all that.
Yeah. And then after Simon, we had the dynamic deacon, Harold Burke-Sivers. And wasn't that a beautiful thing to do? We collaborated with Perusia Media on that episode.
Yeah.
We went to their studios and it was the four of us, Charbel included, and we had a great conversation with Deacon Harold.
Yeah. That was awesome.
And he spoke to us about some of his insights into traveling and talking about the faith with other people. And he's got swag. And he's got like holy attitude as well. It's like
so
he'll
true.
say things and you're like, am I supposed to be offended right now? I don't think I am.
Yeah.
It's like he makes you think, and
Yeah,
he's just a wellspring of knowledge.
So good.
Literally a day later, I was filming a marriage series with him, and I was behind the camera. Honestly, I felt like I was being absolutely screamed at by like a parent. He's yelling at them. It was classic.
But like it's all out of love. Like
It was
he doesn't,
fantastic.
Yeah, it doesn't.
He was not
he's
yelling
awesome.
at me.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was very passionate about what he was saying.
Yeah,
Passion.
passion.
So we had the
I
Deacon
love it.
Harold episode. And then shortly after that, we had Mr. Robert Haddad.
Oh, what an
And
episode!
Dr. Robert Haddad, Mr. Defend the Faith, one of the more prominent Catholic apologists in Australia. He's been in Catholic education for many years. And the feedback I got from that episode from a lot of people was, we've never seen that side of Dr. Robert Haddad, because, again, he went into his own woundedness and spoke about his own battles with depression and the way that he came out of it, and what was unique for him may not be unique for another person. So it's a very well balanced, but also a very vulnerable episode.
I had people come up to me and say they're going through some things, and that episode really helped them at least navigate, their way through. They're still obviously going through that process, but he wanted to open up about that. So and that was such a beautiful thing. Like he wanted to share that testimony of woundedness and vulnerability, and it genuinely helped so many people, just from what I've heard. So imagine what we haven't heard, but if you haven't watched that yet and you feel like you're going through some tough times and things, that's definitely one to watch. It's a beautiful message of hope and faith in times of struggle.
And it's so good that he didn't even have to draw it out of him. He was just so transparent with it all. And that's a good way to deal with it, is to just, because the depression or the anxiety, whatever it's not you, it's something, but it's not you. And he was just, just so open with it. It wasn't, you didn't have to dig it out. So I really love that.
Yeah.
Gets other people talking about it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. In your own woundedness and struggle, if you're happy to talk about it in a healthy way, other people start to come out of themselves and talk about it too.
Yeah.
And we all know what happens if you bottle it up. It's not healthy. So
Well, all this men's ministry initiatives that are happening, it's a wonderful movement. But, I've the opportunity to be involved in a lot of these different things. And most common feedback from everyone is men with their, they need to just be talking to other men, or just be talking, because there's a lot of mental issues, depression, anxiety, traumas. You got to talk about it.
Do you know, just on that, I don't know if I've mentioned it on this podcast. There was a video I saw on Instagram once. I was scrolling through on the doom scroll, and there was a video of this guy who came up, and he's like, it's just him looking at the camera, and he's talking to men, and he's saying, he's like he's just empathizing with their tough times. He's like saying to them, I know you're having it tough now and whatever, but don't worry, you'll get through. And like he's saying, like it's just a message for men going through tough times. And I was younger when I saw this, and I was like, this is a bit cringe, like bit of a cringe video. And then I went to the comments. You always go to comments to find, all the most entertaining, the most entertaining things. So I was thinking, I just want to see what people are saying about this cringe video. And I was scrolling through the comments, and I was on my own. I started tearing up, because it was comment after comment from men saying, thank you so much, I needed this. This video saved my life, or whatever, all this. And I was like, okay, this is a real issue. And that's when it really opened my eyes to, all right, this is something that needs to be addressed. And it is, thankfully, thanks be to God, it's being addressed within the church in Sydney, at least. And so, yeah, it's like, okay, this is real. And it's there, like Father mentioned at the start, it's there for women as well. That the church in Sydney is really offering beautiful things to men and women. And again, if you're going through these uncertain or tough times or anything like that, the church is here for you.
Yeah.
And the church in Sydney is more here for you than probably it has been in the past, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So get amongst it.
Amen to that. Speaking of men's ministry, our next guest was Ivica Kovac. And Ivica was formerly the coordinator of the Maximus Men's Ministry. So Ivica has decided what's best for his family, him and his wife, to move to Croatia, and they're doing that in a couple of weeks' time. And he was a great gift to the church in Sydney for the time that we had him, responsible for networking and bringing a lot of these men's initiatives to the forefront. But we had Ivica come on, and he spoke greatly about his own life and another vulnerable kind of testimony about the original difficulty that he and his wife had conceiving after they got married, the temptations for things like IVF and all sorts of things, and then going down the path of natural family planning and charting and cycles and all sorts of things, and now in their struggle they assist other couples that have been struggling. And the Ivica episode was a special one because a lot of our audience are obviously men, but the men resonated with that, and he really spoke to his life, his vocation as a husband and a father. So that was a beautiful episode.
And I know his particular testimony on that struggle to have kids really touched a lot of people's hearts on the online space, on social media. Yeah, they loved it. So he was awesome. What a
He's a gentleman.
What a man.
We wish him all the best in Croatia.
Yeah.
And I might come visit at some stage for a holiday. Put me up in a room.
It's a great legacy.
See you there.
He does. He does leave a great legacy and big shoes to fill, but I believe that the guy that they've got in the role now, Mr. Michael Jaksic, will take the ball and run with it.
Do it.
We were laughing before the show, Michael Jaksic. So
come on.
We had the great privilege of interviewing two newly ordained priests, Friar Charbel and Father Sony, and they spoke to us about their testimonies, about their call to the priesthood, the way they discerned. And it was literally fresh off their ordinations. So they were still very much on the high of offering their first masses, giving first blessings, what it was like to hear confessions for the first time, all that kind of thing. So great blessing to have two of those new guys on.
Yeah, and just to get an insight into their hearts as newly ordained priests. It was beautiful.
And such different upbringings.
Yeah.
So
that
it
was-
also highlighted that not everyone's journey to their vocation has to be the same.
Yeah.
Which is what we always like to emphasize on the show, is that you get to the state of your vocation through varied paths, and you don't have to fit a particular model or fall into a particular box to say, oh, God is calling me to be a priest or God is calling me to be married. As long as it's the path that our Lord is calling you to, and you stay as faithful as you can on that path to that vocation, then that's your journey. And that's why it was nice to have two very different guys on the show who now share in the ministerial priesthood of Jesus Christ. It was a beautiful thing to have them on.
Amen. Yeah, it was.
Wasn't this a deep episode?
Yeah, I've been waiting for this one.
We had Paul Hanrahan on.
Yep.
And Paul Hanrahan was such an emotional episode for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
The work he has done for decades and the hundreds, if not thousands of babies he has saved from being killed. And then also the tragedy and loss of his own child. And he was open and vulnerable enough to talk to us about that. I don't like to relive these things over and over again, but we're doing the season in review, and the reason it was so important, and I thanks be to God for Paul's courage, because I'm sure that there are people out there that have lost a child, and that's something that has to hurt like hell. But for Paul to have spoken about it the way that he did,
Yeah.
and for him to even now in his own ministry change his perspective a little bit. He lost a child that was wanted. And then his full-time ministry is helping men and women see that, no, you actually do want this child, so please don't kill your child. And so it's like there's a great paradox there in the way that he approaches his own ministry. But that Paul Hanrahan episode, that was something else.
Yeah. Powerful. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. I'm not going to reveal who it was, but I had a friend come up to me and he said, I know Father Ben gave a warning, like a little sort of warning that, you know, the episode's going to be a bit tough to listen to. We're going to speak about some touchy subjects. And he goes, but I watched it anyway. And as he was telling me, he got teary. And he said, I just didn't know how bad it was. And like, I really hope that opened a lot of people's eyes to see truly the evil and the destruction of abortion, but of every other anti-life moral issue.
Yep.
You know, that the church is, you know, the church stands so strongly for life.
Yeah.
That was such a beautiful thing. I personally feel so strongly. My views on abortion are probably stronger than any other moral issue in the church.
Yeah. I would second that and say that it is more important than ever to not stop talking about this as a church.
Yeah.
Because we are the last line of defense. You have a major party in America now campaigning for presidency, and that is one of their major policies that they're running on.
Yeah.
Is abortion for all
Yeah.
at any stage of life, even after a botched abortion when the baby's born alive.
No, it's women's healthcare.
So, but this just goes to show how much we need to talk about it and defend life, because you have so many people out there that will live and die by this particular policy position. And you think to yourself, just use reason and logic and understand that there are people out there that want to help you, that you're not in this alone. And we need to be better at giving services and support to men and women that find themselves in crisis pregnancies. And when I say men and women, I'm talking about the couple. A man cannot have a baby. Okay? So I just want to be clear there. But a lot of the time, these young couples will choose the murder of their own child before, in place of the shame that they would feel if they let people know, oh, we're pregnant and we're not married or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So we need to stand up and make more noise. We need to pray for an end to this. People talk about it's a shame the amount of loss of life there is in the world. Abortion every year is the number one cause of death.
Yeah.
It's like that's what happens each and every year, but you don't want to admit it. You don't want to put it up there. What is happening around the world with wars at the moment is tragic. It's terrible. But the fact is that the most lives lost every year are the unborn. And so thanks be to God for soldiers like Paul Hanrahan.
Yeah.
And all of us would do well to fast and to pray, to offer up masses, to pray our rosaries for an end to abortion, for a conversion of hearts, for men and women around the world to see the beauty of human life and to say yes to life, and that these so-called doctors do not provide healthcare in any way. As Pope Francis has said often, these people are hitmen.
Wow.
They're hitmen. They are paid to take a life.
Yeah, that's oof.
So
That's massive.
we need to be stronger than ever because, as I've said before, when we remain silent on these issues, they become normalized in society.
Yeah.
We saw it with same-sex marriage. No one said anything about it. Now, to say something where the family is husband and wife, notwithstanding the unique circumstances where there might be a death in the family or the man left or the woman left or whatever, it's man, woman, child.
Yeah.
That's what a family is as God ordained. So because we didn't talk about that enough, they started to creep in the whole man and man, woman and woman. I'm sorry, that's not marriage. But at the same time, when it comes to things like abortion, you don't talk about it because it's touchy, because it might offend a few people. You don't talk about it, then it becomes normalized and accepted in society.
And then you don't get let into the country if you do talk about it.
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
right. Yeah. So
Ooh,
there's
you went
another
there.
thing. We've become a country that is now mandating and dictating
Speech.
who comes in and out based on their own personal views.
Yeah.
That is
Dangerous
some of the
precedent.
most extreme draconian, that is terrible.
Yeah.
That is terrible. So,
And she talks about how the government lets in gangster rappers who talk about abusing women and all
Yep.
those sort of things. And, she's not trying to harm anyone.
yeah, so
She's not
as
letting-
is breaking news today for those that don't know at home, we're talking about Candace Owens being denied a visa to come into the country. So
Based on her views.
based on her
certain
views.
things,
It's
yeah.
like she hasn't come here, peddling drugs or bringing a gang to off people or do anything like that.
Yeah.
She just has what a lot of people call controversial views, but a lot of the time she gets misquoted. So I was reading the Sydney Morning Herald article on the denial of her visa. She's like, she aligns herself with former President Donald Trump. What the heck does that have to do with her visit to Australia? Everything that they could have put in the article that aligns her almost with conservatism and in some cases extreme conservatism, they just went after.
Yeah.
So we've got to be very mindful of that.
Even the fact that we're saying it's her views, they're not her views. It's facts. She does her research, and she's just spitting out truths. I've been so disappointed with, Sky News going after her. Because I often will watch Sky News and are pretty credible, and goes to show media they've got someone to answer to, where she's just spitting out some truths.
So
Well,
that's the whole Candace thing.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll be on the podcast one day. Who knows?
I just want to quickly bring it back to Paul.
To
Paul Hanrahan, because one of the things that struck me, and also, Sarah, I'd like to hear a bit from you as well on it, because you often hear, men can't have opinions on abortion. What is it? If you don't have a uterus, you can't have an opinion or something along
No
those
uterus,
lines.
no opinion.
No uterus, no opinion. But if you don't have a uterus, you can be a woman still, apparently. Anyway, he said, so he speaks of the pro-choice movement, and one of the most powerful things he said was, oftentimes when he speaks to women who are going in to get an abortion or who have had an abortion, the number one thing they say is, I had no choice. I have no choice. And that was one of the most powerful. It's for a lot of these women, and it's not in all cases, of course, but for a lot of these women, they're going in thinking, I have no other choice. This is all that's left for me. And a lot of the time, it's medical professionals who are pushing this very idea, is that your only option is abortion. It's better for you. You're young. You have your whole life ahead of you. The child has, this potential sickness or illness or disability. Why trouble yourself with it? Whatever, all these rubbish arguments. And that just stood out to me. That thing is they call themselves the pro-choice side or movement or whatever, but clearly these women feel like they have no other choice. That was powerful. But what's a young woman's take on the work Paul does and on the stance he takes?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know. I think that as a society, the fact that we're pushing for an option for vulnerable women to like a quick fix is an issue. Like, why are we focusing on that? If I were to focus on anything, first of all, it'd be like education on sex, like full stop. A lot of people need education on that. What is it? What's it for? If everyone had a good understanding of what sex was for, I'm sure that there'd be a lot of these abortion cases that were non-existent, just because people, and a lot of the time it's like, I don't know why we're pushing for men to be in support of abortion when a lot of the time it's these weak men that are pushing these girls into these situations. A man that's like a feminist is a weak man, because by standing there and saying, yes, we should support my girlfriend, that if I accidentally impregnate her, that she can rid of all responsibility of me and herself by killing the baby. Like, no, that's not what a man should be thinking. A man should be leading the woman into what is best for her and then ultimately the family. If you're outside of a marriage, you have no family with this woman, don't do anything that's going to cause her to be in these sticky situations where now she's impregnated and you don't know what to do. You didn't know if you wanted to marry her yet or not. You're not sure if you love her properly. It was just fun and all these things. And now you've put her in this position. And now we've made them feel like it's powerful that I can go as a woman, I can have my sexual needs, fulfill them with a man that wants to use me for those sexual needs. And then I still have the ability to say to the man, that's okay. You don't need to take any responsibility. I'll just kill the fruition of our love. Like,
suffer the consequences.
Exactly. And suffer the mental consequences that last for the whole life. Like, I'm sorry, but like, if a student fails in class, I think about it for days because I feel like it's me. Imagine a mother, like, there's a connection that is formed. You literally have a baby become the part of you and you become part of the baby. Imagine you go and kill that child, no matter how many times you say that that's what you wanted, it's going to creep up on you, like, for the rest of your life.
Which has been proven that there is signs of depression and all sorts of things, complications that happen when women go through that procedure. Very well articulated.
Thank you.
I honestly like to hear that and to talk about prevention more than anything else, which is why I suppose names like Jason Everett and Simon Carrington are needed more than ever to teach young men and women about the dignity of their bodies, the meaning for, sex in life and what it's oriented towards. That's so important. But because these types of characters are cancelled, you'd rather learn about contraception and plan Bs and all sorts of things. And what's really disgusting, because it's already disgusting, but even more so, the fact that they talk about abortion as a contraceptive option.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense to begin with, because there's already conception that's taken place. So you can't be contrary to it because it's already taken place. But they're looking at it as another form of birth control, which is just, and birth control in general is something that we teach to be an offence against the marital act. It is a lie. You stand there before your husband or wife on the day of your wedding and you say vows to each other to contracept after that day is you basically voiding your wedding vows. You're not telling the truth with your bodies. So that's another episode for another day. That was Paul Hanrahan.
Yes. But
We
there's
digress.
hope for people.
There's hope
for
There
people
is
who
hope.
have participated in or
Yes,
push
there's
people to it.
healing.
Yes.
There's healing. There's hope.
Yeah.
Only Jesus can bring that healing and hope. So please, if you're struggling with a decision that you've already made, don't bottle it up. Don't allow it to consume you for the rest of your life. Go to the healing power of Jesus Christ. Go to the church. Go through the sacraments, and there's healing and hope to move forward. We then had... Sorry, changing gears. we then had a double episode with Francis Tamer. We had some things to say, and isn't he an articulate young man?
He is.
He's a very articulate young man, and Francis, with his own podcast, spoke to us about the podcasting space and what he's going through, and
his experiences in uni, fighting the
fighting
left.
unique.
I don't know,
Yeah. Well, it
How to
really was.
generalize it.
The front line.
The front line,
The
like
front
it
line,
was, it was so. It really gave us all an insight into how, I suppose, driven, passionate, and disorderly another camp or group of people can be when there isn't, or what they try to do, which is ultimately basically restrict free exchange of ideas. It was very simple what was happening on that university campus at the time of the same-sex marriage plebiscite. It was just, it's okay to say no. You don't have to agree with this. This is not a human right.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't have to agree, but for those people that said, no, we don't, the whole slogan, it's okay to say no, it's okay to vote no to this, those people got persecuted. And we saw Francis on the front lines, along with other people there at the Sydney Uni chaplaincy. They just got smashed with food, with glitter. They were sworn at. It wasn't civil at all. Because when you don't have proper arguments and you can't properly articulate your point, all you will resort to at the end of the day is screaming and abuse.
Yeah, that's right.
So Francis was a great couple of episodes.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
I think he's got a big future in the podcast space,
I
Francis.
think he does.
Yeah.
I think he does.
100%.
Francis is a very gifted young man.
You didn't copyright the beard, did you? Guys?
No,
Okay.
the beard can be
Free reign,
anyone's.
Francis. There you go.
Excuse me.
The beard can be anyone's. Just some wear it better than others. That's all.
Ooh, shots fired.
No, not at all. I'm just making a comment.
Well, I think you wear it well, Francis. Well done.
I was talking
no,
about
yeah.
how good his
No.
beard is.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I thought you were saying you wear it better than
No,
him.
Francis has a great beard, mate. Then you see guys that try to grow a
Not
beard,
bad.
and they just
goes
can't.
out.
Alright, just let it play.
Big hits.
Oh my gosh.
There's a secret to the behind the scenes. It's on a playlist.
Now, our most viewed episode ever came the following week.
Yep.
And that was His Grace, the Archbishop of Sydney, Anthony Fisher. And he took time out of his schedule to visit our studio, to sit down with us and to talk to us, not only about his upbringing and life as a bishop, but particular issues within the church, as was basically, I suppose, we came up with those questions in our respective fields. That was a great episode.
Yeah.
Great
That's
episode.
incredible.
So many people tuned in for that one. And the feedback that I received was, we love the way that he just spoke from the heart.
Yes.
And we've never seen the Archbishop in that way before. Now, I don't say that in a negative way. It's just a lot of the time you'll hear him with his homilies at Mass.
Yeah.
Or he's recorded a video message like a Merry Christmas or a congratulations on getting the Eucharistic Congress, whatever it might be. But unless you have those kind of intimate meetings with him, you don't usually get that Q&A, free-flowing kind of experience. So we were very blessed to have him on the show. What did you think when the Archbishop walks into our humble little garage?
So nervous.
Yeah. I remember Anthony was freaking out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I remember Father Ben was nervous too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
What did I do?
You were nervous.
I was nervous.
Yeah.
Because like, is the temperature okay in here? Do we have water?
But the moment he walked in, it was I think everyone just eased.
Yeah, exactly.
He was so humble. And then even after filming, just sitting on picnic chairs and just having a barbecue and having a lovely chat. And I was really inspired by how simple he made the when he was talking about Cardinal Pearl, how simple it is to promote vocations if you do it right.
Yep.
And that's stuck with me since. And as a content creator, I think we can't complicate these things. Just talk positively about the vocations of religious and the priesthood, even other Catholic vocations. Just share how good they are.
And a lot of his some of the shorts that we released did very well of him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's
Especially the one about the kids crying and noise at
everyone
mass.
loves that.
That was so
Everyone
good.
loved
And I hope that was encouraging to a lot of young families. Because
It
a lot of
always
young
is.
families, sometimes they just get put off and they think, won't go to church this Sunday because my kids are too much of a distraction and I'm not bothered for people's responses and the way that they look at me and the kids when we walk in. But he just hit it on the head right there.
Yeah.
Like, just come to mass, ignore the sights and the sounds of other people, just concentrate on the mass and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better for your family. Better for your family.
100%.
Yeah.
It was, and to hear it from a church leader
Yeah.
is incredible.
Something else.
And like, his grace was so, like Anne said, he was so humble. It just he made it easy for us to just have a chat with him. Like you said, he eased our nerves, but also he was just so open. Like I didn't even, I'll be honest, I didn't even think he was going to give such open responses to the questions. He was critical of, not overly critical, and like he identified the areas in Sydney that can be improved. He was happy to talk about them. He was happy to talk about the successes. He was happy to talk about his own personal experiences. Like, he was, I was so pleasantly surprised.
And we're very fortunate. I don't think he's done anything like that before, where he's just sat and had a conversation on video anyway. You know? So I think we're very fortunate to have that and all be in the room for that.
Yeah.
Everyone was asking, everyone that spoke to me about it was like, how did you guys manage to get the Archbishop on the podcast? And I was like, I don't know if you're aware, but
We know someone.
Father Ben, the co-host on the show, I don't know, the head, the bald head with the beard on the show, he kind of lives with him. His schedule is completely based on the Archbishop's schedule. I don't know what else to say. I was like,
It was a matter
all
of
him.
time before
all
I
him.
asked the question.
Yeah.
all of those hours spent driving him to and from events and eating dinners and lunches with him. Like, it really is a blessing to live where I live and spend the time that I do with the Archbishop. But the fact that he knew about our podcast, that he supported us, he loves what we're doing in this space. And then to ask the question, he's like, I'd love to be on. I'm like, well,
Did you have to
That's awesome.
warm him up, drop a few seeds of
look,
everyone wants to be on part of this podcast, you know? It's the place to be.
It's so hip.
You ain't
It's
cool
so hip.
unless
It's really
your
happening.
pets. I mean, you come on the podcast.
It was it wasn't just me asking him. It was
Him wanting.
it was months of him knowing about it and then me getting into the role of what I'm doing now for him as his master of ceremonies. And then just casually hinting at it. But it wasn't in my first week as MC. So it was
Prudence.
Yeah, it was like, look, for a podcast that's basically done a year's worth, every single week there's been a podcast. We've grown to what we've grown to. He's seen the fruits of it. He's heard people talking about it. We were referenced in an ACBC document as a reference for sport and faith. So we're on the radar of not only the Archbishop of Sydney, but bishops around Australia to know about what we do, which is a beautiful thing. So I'm just grateful that he was generous with his time and said yes.
Yeah,
A
same
beautiful
here.
episode.
And thank you, Abuna, for organising that.
Mate.
It was awesome.
We then had Mr. Tweeting with God himself, Father Michel Remery. And what an amazing podcast that was.
Yeah, underrated.
Yeah,
Underrated.
but we highly recommend you check out that podcast because he came up with this beautiful concept of people asking questions about the faith and how do we deliver it to people in an accessible way, ultimately a way where you can have an open Q&A. And that's a lot of the concept behind it, which he's now elaborated on and expanded. He's got, programs with Saints Formation and RCIA and all sorts of things. But what a great episode. Anthony, I think you said that was your favourite. Yeah,
look, I've got a few, but it's the most, there's a lot of synergy in what he does and my work. And I'm a big advocate for all the 1%ers. And you could just see, just holding his books and the cards and all the things he's produced. It was, the attention to detail, and it was just very inspiring for me. I don't know. He's doing a lot of digital formation, and that's what I've been a big advocate for.
And that's the space that I think we need to move more and more into. We've got our podcasts, we've got apps, we've got social media. It's all there, and you either get amongst it or you get left behind a lot of the time. So,
well, he's linking the two together. He's linking the physical and the digital together, which was really clever.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't watched it, it's things like scanning QR codes on these deck of cards that are for kids, and it takes you to an app where the saint will talk to you and tell you about their ministry, and really wonderful like that. I just thought that was so good.
The Saints social media page,
there's
different posts.
Yeah. The books were treasures. Honestly, they were such lovely books. I thought when he brought them in, I thought, I'm gonna nick those, but he took them with him.
he gave them to me.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
There you go. Little gift for Daniel.
Yes.
And the boys.
Yes. On the way home, because he had it was a bit of a whirlwind tour for him, but that was just, he and I ran into each other at breakfast at the Cathedral House. I didn't know who he was. No idea. Introduced, told me what he did, what his ministry is. Do you want to be on the podcast? I'd love to. And so we ended up, that was a double that day, wasn't it?
It was the same day as the Archbishop.
Same day as the Archbishop. Yep. So we shot 2 podcasts that day. So I drove him from the city to here, and he sat down, very generous with his time, and he loved it. He loved being on.
He was a gentleman.
He's a gentleman, true gentleman.
He
was. He's well seasoned too. He's been around. He's done a lot.
Yeah.
Ambassador in Rome and all sorts of things. So,
and he's aged well. As for someone who hasn't aged well, I was like, wow, this guy's looking after himself.
No, he's awesome. He was very intelligent, very grounded in the faith, which obviously you would hope for in a priest, but it was just, he was awesome. I didn't know about him either. I had to do some research, see who he was. Great to talk to.
That's just beautiful to let the people at home, to let the bips know that it's sometimes the podcast just takes on a life of its own. Sometimes it's so spontaneous where you'll run into someone and they've got an interesting story or a great ministry and you never thought about having them on.
Yeah.
That was just over breakfast and that happened within 24 hours. We just organised that. So sometimes it's not planned months in advance. Sometimes you just got to roll with the punches, and I think it's a testament to everyone here as to your flexibility. They'll be like, we got to shoot a podcast. Can you do it? See you in 2 hours. Let's go. Like, that's what's special about this team. So Father Michel Remery, beautiful podcast. Then we had a bit of a laugh. We had Manouche. We had all sorts of things.
Oh my gosh.
And we had the K-Roos brothers, all people, who are just killing it at the moment.
Yeah.
With a lot of their skits, a lot of what they're doing with sports and interviewing, KO Sports, all sorts of things. The K-Roos brothers were kind enough and generous enough to come on our podcast to talk with them. What was that like?
That was great.
Yeah, they were awesome. They're nice, genuine, humble, funny guys.
Yeah.
And they're also two boys who are very much in the process of getting back in their faith. which was so nice to see. And I felt a little bit bad for like questioning, some of their choices and things, but I thought it was something that might be good for me personally, and also for the Bips to hear as well.
Yeah.
And I love what you said after they answered the question, is like we're seeing the process of them evolving in their maturity, their faith, their creativity.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. They were awesome.
One of the highlights for me was them talking about their brother Patrick.
Yeah, what a
who
legend.
doesn't get featured a lot on what they produce. But one of the things that stood out was Patrick highlighting to them that little kids see their content.
Yeah.
And you've got to be mindful of what little kids are watching. Like, you guys are role models now. It's all nice to have a laugh and, make a fool of yourself every now and then for content.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna wear the cross around your neck, if you're gonna be public about it, they're the types of things you have to be very careful with. Yeah. And so they brought that up. Their own brother, out of love for them, has brought that up and said, just be mindful now. Like, be funny, but don't cross a line.
Yeah.
So it was...
God bless him. That's true.
Yeah.
When we talk about fraternal correction,
Yeah.
like, it's out of love. It's saying, hey, you could be doing this better.
Yeah.
Or be careful. You're treading a fine line. Or whatever. Yeah.
Our next guest was Father Ronnie Marie. After him was Dr. Greg Patel.
I was waiting to see what was coming of that. I was waiting to see. You guys are just... I love that. The banter between you guys is so fun. It is so fun. Oh, my gosh.
So, Anth, talk to me, because that was one of the weeks I was in Ecuador.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about how that episode was.
Yeah, Father Ronnie is awesome. So, like, Father Ronnie and I are very close as well. We got to know him through you initially at the seminary. Then he was placed as deacon, and then for the first year or two maybe at St. Felix of his priesthood, at St. Felix, which were I would, I'll say it, were the peak. It was the peak of parish life at St. Felix, really.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
I wasn't here for the interview, but just on what you're saying, it came at a time through the COVID lockdowns too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that Father Ronnie had the energy to do was ensure that there was still parish life by way of a mass, a streaming mass. And he even brought some of the beauty of the church's liturgy into all of that.
Yeah.
By having a mass, for example, at the tabernacle, at the where the high altar used to be.
Yes.
Ad Orientem, different mass settings that the people at St. Felix would have never have been exposed to.
Yeah.
Which introduced, I think, a change in the way liturgy was happening.
Yeah.
So we can never underestimate some of the lengths that priests went to during those COVID lockdowns.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, what's the church doing? Just have a look at someone like Father Ronnie as a role model in that space.
Yeah.
There were things happening online. There were letterbox drops. There were anything you could do within the rules, he was doing.
Yeah.
With the support of his parish priest, but it took his initiative and energy.
Yes.
And then people behind him to actually drive all of that.
Yeah.
And that's where my promotion and flattery of Father Ronnie will now end. Okay.
What I will say is the reason I wanted Father Ronnie to come on was not just because we're close, but it's because I got to see who he was as a priest, as a spiritual father when he was at St. Felix. Father Ronnie very much to me is a spiritual father figure. Like yourself, Abuna. Like,
stop it.
But he really is. It's like, it's easy to see like spiritual dad, and it was like, not to go on too long about the parish life at St. Felix when he was there, but he was very much a spiritual father there, one that we were longing for and craving at St. Felix. A lot of what was happening at St. Felix, and this isn't an attack on the parish priest or anything, the current or former or whatever. a lot of what was happening was driven by the youth at the time, which was started by Alison. It was pushed along with Alison by yourself, Abuna, when you were there, my brothers as well. It was really just the youth driving everything. When Father Ronnie was there, we really had a pastor, a spiritual father there who was guiding his children along with it, so that the youth were very much active, but it was under his leadership, under his fatherhood.
Very much galvanized, brought together, and
Yeah. So he was awesome. So I wanted that to come out in the podcast.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. I wish I structured the podcast a little bit better so that we had a bit more time, because he took time out of his holiday to come, and he was, driving out. He had a bit of a drive. I wish we spoke a bit longer about the priesthood and things. So I wanted to focus on the priesthood with him. But from the things he said on it, he was incredible. Yeah, he was awesome.
One thing you didn't mention, on the drive here to film, I called Father Ronnie and said, "Do you want me to stop and get you a coffee?" And he's like, "Mate, you think this was your house? Anthony has not even offered me a coffee. Nothing. He's offered me nothing."
May I offer it?
And I got here and he was giving it to Anthony.
Yeah.
As he does.
Just like a father. Like a spiritual
just
father.
like a
There you
father.
go.
Yeah, and you know what, mate? Come here and do the podcast and go to your holiday, mate. I don't have to offer you anything, mate.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No. I'm joking.
But that's just the banter, and
It is.
any opportunity just to have a little dig in a very playful way.
Yeah.
I think that's what's beautiful about our circles is
Yeah.
that's what we tend to do quite often is like we'll pick up on one little thing. It's like, I've been here for half an hour already, you haven't offered me a drink. Like, what's going on?
Well, actually, while we're on it, first 5 or 6 episodes, what happened with me behind the camera?
wow.
You didn't have a
bench?
seat.
Didn't have a seat,
Didn't even
everyone.
have a seat.
Just standing. If you hear like this is before I had a microphone, but if you just hear like footsteps or, shuffling, that was me standing behind the cameras for,
Poor
I think,
Ant.
3 hours.
Yeah, at times.
And then
Poor Ant.
by the 5th episode, I said, "Anthony, can I have a seat?"
He was like so nervous to ask. Felt so bad.
I was just
asking.
really
I was
intimidated
like,
by
I'm
Anthony.
so sorry. Yeah, I'm a work in progress. All right, I'm still working on my hospitality. And
Amen.
things, Yeah.
Now there's a couch behind there.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Works well.
Yeah. That was
There's-
intentional for you.
Great episode with Father Ronnie.
That was fun.
We then did a collaboration with Fidelis, and we had which was a unique and tumultuous week because
Yes.
you had gastro and you were up and down and you weren't sure whether or not you were going to be able to make it, and it was like a real last minute call, and we ended up doing a live audience interview with Dr. Greg Bottaro, a Catholic psychologist.
Yeah.
And mate, you were down and out. You were up and down for so many days, and I know how bad it would have been for you to have missed that. So it's not like you're at home, preferencing a footy game or something. Like, you were actually out of action.
Yeah.
So then it came down to the three of us, and you helped me a lot because I was doing a lot of just looking into JP2's teachings on what Dr. Greg specialized in without having really researched or thought about some questions to ask.
Yeah.
And so you sent through your questions, and I was like, I'll weave these into what I'm going to talk about him when it comes to JP2 and his personalism. So
Which you did.
Which you helped
Awesome.
quite a bit.
Thank you. Yeah.
But then we had Anth, you got there early and you set up, and then Sarah, in her element, walking around, shooting content, making sure that the footy players, we had them for content.
That was thanks to
Like-
Jacob Carraz and Bronson Sherry. For
Yeah,
being
yeah.
there. That was
It
awesome.
was just, you're in your element. Sarah set up the stage. She made sure that
Nice.
the musicians weren't going to be prima donnas and hog all the space. Make sure that our space, because we were the draw of the night. It was Against the Grain, Fidelis it was the interview.
Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Greg, amazing.
Oh, goodness. Oh my gosh.
One of the things that I felt very uncomfortable throughout the interview because imagine this in front of 400 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it felt so odd.
Yeah.
Like, usually we get in the zone and it becomes a personal conversation. I found it very hard to get in the zone with Dr. Greg because there were 400 people watching us.
Yeah.
We're used to having 400 people watch our videos online, but you can never see them.
Yeah, yeah.
But this was an odd interview, and so I hope it came across okay.
It was great.
But it was funny, and just to let everyone know, I was the only person out of a select group of people.
Here we go. I know where this is going.
Let me. I was the
have the
only
footage.
person.
This guy.
I was the only person out of a select group of people, including first grade NRL players, to put the footy through the hole.
Yeah, what a beast.
And it was on my first try.
It was
What
so
a boss.
smooth.
And did I not say to you, Sarah, I'm getting it in?
Yes. He
What
was
a-
so sure.
The funniest was when Bronson Sherry went last, and that last pass that he missed, Father Ben just presented himself to the public.
Yeah.
Did this, arms out, and the
So
cheer
you
was
should.
so big. Yeah.
So you
And then
should.
I was at the back with my lad, going, "Oh my gosh, now I'm going to put up with this guy for the next."
You know what? That's for so just so everyone knows, that's no fluke. Father Ben at the Purpose
That's right.
conference or whatever was it conference?
Purpose,
Yeah.
Conference was like just cleaning him. He was just getting him in. Like I don't know how you do it. It's so hard. Not even these
It's
footy
the
players
oracle.
could do it.
It's look
Yeah, the Oracle
when
is-
it comes to the oval ball, I don't mind if I'm passing from left to right. I'm pretty accurate.
You're solid.
I can throw a
Like
bullet.
clean.
I can put you in a gap. I can do it. It's been a few years since I've done that, but when it comes to hand-eye coordination for me as a basketballer has always come. I think I've trained in that a lot of the time. So anyway, enough about
You can
me.
see your
Steady.
head getting bigger.
Enough about
So
me.
are you
Hang
an
on, hang
elite?
on.
You sound like an elite athlete or
Hang
something.
on.
I know.
Steady hand Saliba.
Steady hand Saliba.
You can't go past it. Steady hand
Steady
Saliba.
hand Saliba.
Bullseye Ben.
Bullseye Ben.
I love it.
Look, the episode itself, though,
It was awesome.
Dr. Greg offered some great insights
Yeah.
into the wholeness of the person, very much motivated by John Paul II's personalism. And
Yes.
it just goes to show that the church can come into these spaces when it comes to psychology.
Yep.
You don't need out there theories and all sorts of things. The church looks at the human person as a whole, body and soul composite together, not one part of you versus the other. There's no dualism there. It's just, and he really highlighted a lot of that. So it was a great episode, Dr. Greg.
I wonder what his psychoanalysis of Father Benjamin Saliba was. While you were
Were you
you
worried
thinking
about
about
that?
that? Yeah.
Not really, because I think I would have been if maybe he was here in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of the crowd,
Yeah. That was
that
distracting
wasn't.
you.
It didn't really cross my mind.
Fair.
So
Well, thank you for taking the reins, because it was very last minute that I said sorry, guys. Like I was trying to give myself to the very last second. So I did let you guys know very late. So thanks, Abuna, for taking the reins, and also for praying for me. Thank you. That was also, it worked. I got better. But it was so good. It was
bullseye.
Dr. Greg. Dr. Greg was awesome. I didn't know much about it. I had to do research as well. When the opportunity presented itself for us to do that, I was like, okay, I got to find out actually what he does. You know, he was awesome. Like, yeah, I won't go too much into detail, but I was listening and I was going, I didn't even know I needed to hear this.
Yeah.
So he was awesome.
Yeah. After Dr. Greg, I was I still ill? I think I was.
Yeah.
I got sick. I think it was my turn to get sick. So George Alakiki was on the show. Was that right, or was I away?
You were away for George.
I
You
was
were sick
away-
for Francis.
I was yes. So I was away on leave. I had a bit of time off. I needed a bit of a rest. So you had George on. George Alakiki, former journalist of the Catholic
journalist.
Weekly.
Still a journalist.
Still a journalist. Former Catholic Weekly journalist.
Yeah.
And he wasn't he a wealth of knowledge? I
Yeah.
was captivated by the footy knowledge on that episode.
Yeah.
And the way that you guys were talking about forms and structures and previewing and reviewing, and that was a great episode.
It was really fun.
And a personal friend of yours too. So
Yeah.
how was that?
Yeah, so George, I know George. I met George through Sarah. Sarah was heavily involved with Uni Maronite, and so I don't get involved in all uni extracurricular activity. I didn't do that stuff, but I was going for Sarah, and then that's where I got to know George. George plays in our Oz tag team, so he sees the worst of me as well. So we've gotten close over time. Going to a country concert together, much to his dismay, but you know, that's what you do for love. Of his girlfriend, not for me. Anyway,
Keep going.
He was, George is awesome. So, like, just a champion, great guy. We were having, such a good conversation on. I was surprised. Like, we speak about footy all the time, but even I was surprised at his knowledge, and I was like, oh, this is opening up new like insights for me. That was fun. That was fun. Yeah. George is a champion.
And George has written some very good articles for the Catholic Weekly.
Yeah,
he's moved on now.
Yeah.
And that's created a space for our very own, who's contributed a little bit to the Catholic Weekly as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you to George. George was awesome. So when he left the Catholic Weekly, he started the sports column there at the Catholic Weekly, and he was told to find his replacement for the sports column. And so he came and asked me, which was it's awesome. Thank you so much to George for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah.
It's a few weeks in now. I just today sent through my third
Good
article to hopefully be published.
Yeah.
Sounds like in the response I got back in the email, sounds like he's all right with it. So the editor's all right with it. So
you've got to speak to the editor. I've got a bit of a gripe with the editor.
what happened?
All right.
Yeah, tell me.
A very good friend and priest, a brother priest of mine, ordained in my year, they did a feature article on him over the weekend.
Yeah.
And they named him Father Andrew Simmons.
Oh, no
way.
The comments on the online article is, this is Father Adrian Simmons. Get the name right. But they did the same many years ago with one of my other classmates. When we first entered the seminary and they're doing feature articles on us, they called Father B-Joy, whose surname is Joseph, Father B-Joy Peters. Like, where do you get that from?
What? Are you serious?
So just a little friendly nudge. Get the names right.
Get the names right.
It's fake news.
Fake news. That was so good. Oh gosh.
I'm glad, man. I'm so proud of you for writing now.
Thanks.
For our number one publication in Sydney in the Catholic world. So then we had, and I was sick for this episode, you had Francis Molo on, the prop for the St. George Illawarra Dragons.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what a change in his own life. I watched that episode with great interest. Just goes to show what is possible when you put God first.
Yeah.
And he was very open and raw about his own life and his own upbringing. Yeah. How was that episode for you?
Yeah.
First time we'd had an athlete on in a while.
Yeah. It was. I was extremely nervous, especially having to do it like on my own. I will tell this. I'm going to embarrass myself. Okay, I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to embarrass myself, but it shows you how much of a champion Francis Mole is.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I'm learning. So I asked him what coffee, if he
It's
wants
only
some
taken
coffee.
51 episodes.
Yeah.
He's getting there.
He's getting there. That's right.
Yeah, I was like,
That's right.
it's a
We're ready to release him into the wild.
slowly but surely. So I asked him if he wants coffee, and he sent me his coffee order. He was very grateful for it. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to get it for him too early. So the plan was for him to come in at 10. So I thought, I'm not going to go too early because I don't want his coffee to get cold. So I go, all right, I'll time it. The cafe's not far from mine. So anyway, I left home at 9:50 or just before, I think. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get home by 10 o'clock when he gets here. So anyway, there's a car parked in front of the house, but when I'm out, I don't look around too much. I like to just, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get stabbed or something for looking at the wrong person, Anyway, so I go to my car. I drive up, which is parked directly opposite this car that's in front. I drive off. I go and get the coffees. While I'm getting the coffee, I'm on Instagram to look at his coffee order because we were messaging on Instagram, and he says he's online, and I'm like, why is he online? Why isn't he on the way to ours? Anyway, I come back with this coffee order. I get out of the car, and as I get out of the car, the door opens of that same car that was here when I left, and he walks out of it, and I go, "Were you here when I left?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "I didn't know. Like, I didn't look up. I just don't look around. I didn't." And he was like, "No, all good. Like, I didn't want you to rush or anything or whatever." So I didn't say anything.
What a nice guy.
That's so sweet.
Just the champion. And he was so like forgiving.
Punctual.
Very
Yeah,
punctual.
very.
Yeah, he was saying he likes to be early, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Man, I'm Leb. Like, I'm the worst with time."
I have to say, that was the first episode I've ever not been here for the filming, but I did edit the episode, and there's a part in it at the start where Anthony forgets the canvas, right? And this isn't a fun, like, don't expect anything funny. It's just, right. But Anthony runs off, apologizes to Francis, who's just sitting in your seat, Father Ben, and Anthony goes to the room, but the cameras are rolling. And so as I'm editing, I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen here. So I just let it run. And dead set, he just sits there like this. Wasn't like nosing around, wasn't looking around, was just sat here
champion.
respectful like this. Didn't fiddle with his phone, just was. And I thought, what a guy. Like, just
Patient.
patient
Yeah.
and just happy to be in sort of stillness for a moment, not having to jump to their phones. I thought, what a guy.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
discipline.
Virtuous.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I will. Sorry, I'm just gonna do this last plug on him as a person. He is someone who hasn't had an easy life. He's made bad decisions. He mentioned it. He's been unlucky in certain circumstances that put him in a tough spot. Not, in my opinion, not of his own fault. And he was extremely nervous. He's never done a podcast. He's Google proof. You can't find him anywhere, like information on him anywhere. He's a very private person, very quiet, very shy. Thank God for his wife who encouraged him to come on the show. He was so willing to share his testimony so that someone else could understand that it's not too late to turn your life around. And so open to learning more. And he's at that stage now where he's trying to learn more and everything. We had a chat after we were speaking about, everything. He was telling me even more about his life than he said on the podcast. And I ended up giving him the Consecration to St. Joseph book because he was speaking about he was speaking about the Holy Family and how he loves St. Joseph and what a role model he is as a man. So I thought, okay, well, this is a perfect opportunity. So I was like, I don't know if you want it, but like there's this, and he was so open to having it.
That's on video, by the way.
Is it?
Yep. It's really nice. It was really good.
Whoops.
No,
What do you mean, whoops?
Not in the edit.
Amazing.
It's just, it was really lovely. You guys were standing here.
Yeah,
sound like
I
a
forgot to
stalker.
turn the cameras off. That's why. Yeah, but see how open he was, like to learning and everything, and
But
I
so
was
gracious in the acceptance of it as well. I was like, really? For me?
Yeah,
it was
that's
really
so
lovely.
true. Yeah,
it was lovely.
Yeah, and he was like, I'll give it back to you, and I said, no, just keep it, use it, whatever, do whatever you want with it, and then if someone else wants it, then you can sort of pass it on to them, like, and he was just so grateful. Like he is honestly such a champion and a great witness to such a turnaround from one life from death to life. Let's say that. It was
We're
awesome.
always very grateful when we have the professional athletes that we do on the show,
Yeah.
because we know that opening up about faith sometimes isn't easy. It can affect the way that they're viewed.
Yeah.
It can affect relations with other people. And for these people to have that zeal and confidence and their trust in God is a beautiful thing for them to be on the show. So we're very grateful that Francis came on the show. Francis, I'm very sorry that I didn't have the honour of meeting you and being part of that conversation, but I'm glad that you and Anthony sat down together and did what you did.
He's also a fan of the show. Sorry, I will say that.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Good.
Follows.
Yeah. Likes things.
Nice.
Interacts.
Nice. We then had our final guest for the season, which was Auxiliary Bishop of Sydney, Bishop Richard Umbers, who came on the show. Great character. High energy.
Yeah.
Very passionate about what he's doing. Very passionate about the International Eucharistic Congress, which he's been working on for a bit, which we won the bid for in 2028. But the fact that we've had 2 bishops on this show, not an easy thing to do with their diaries, but he came on and he was very generous with his time, and on his day off, again, it's one of those things, just to be able to talk to us about the things that he does, talk to us about the memes that he used to create and where he's going with ministry.
Yeah.
The whole time you're saying, the mean bishop is coming. And I thought you were saying mean bishop. And I'm thinking, why are you saying... Like, he's not mean. He's a jolly.
This guy's a real piece of work. So,
it wasn't until Anthony sent me the titles for the video where everything suddenly... Mind you, I edited the video where you're talking about the memes.
Yeah.
It still hadn't registered in my head. So there you go, guys.
Serious?
Not the sharpest tool, unfortunately.
No, he was the hopes that he has for the talking about the realistic hopes for the Eucharistic Congress have made me so much more excited for it. I can't wait for it.
Speaking of the Congress, one of the prominent parts of the Congress is the Eucharistic procession. And we had our Corpus Christi procession earlier this year. And Sarah, you put together a short that went absolutely viral.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. That was, I don't know what the latest numbers on it were, but that went nuts. That was great.
Yeah, that was really good. It had a lot of engagement. I don't think it was me, though. I think it was just purely the content, to see that many people walking through Sydney CBD. Like, you can recognise the buildings. The Archbishop is what probably caught people. And then the fact that, like, so many people probably have never seen in a street the holding of the monstrance with the, what do you call the tent?
Is it baldacchino? I think it's baldacchino.
That's a nice word.
It may not be. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think that just, like, that's what caught everyone's attention. And then the image at the end, I think I ended on it or somewhere near the end of it, was, like, the Archbishop all the way at the front and everyone was kneeling in adoration. And
so he was giving benediction.
Yeah, during benediction. Like, that's just a sight for, wow. Yeah, that was amazing.
That was one of the more viral posts of the season.
Yeah.
Which was good. And then after Bishop Umbers, we find ourselves at this season finale episode. It's been a big season.
Yeah.
Massive season. Thank you to all of the guests that have been on. We always thank our guests.
Yes.
Because without the guests, the show becomes almost a little two-dimensional sometimes.
Yeah.
I love sitting across from you each week and talking, but what we want to bring into people's homes and hearts is the testimony of other people, of athletes, of church figures. So I think we've been able to achieve that this season.
Yeah.
Been a very, very good one.
Has been awesome.
Yeah.
Has been awesome. It flies.
It does. It does. It does. So that's the end of the 2024 season. We're going to change gears now. The big announcement, we're come to the end of the 2024 season, and we're excited about what's to come. But we're going to do things a little bit differently as we move forward into the future of Against the Grain. I need to be open and vulnerable with the audience now, and to all of you. You guys have known for a little bit now, but it's not easy doing a weekly podcast. I'm not saying that what I do is more demanding than anyone else, but I've seen that it's starting to take a bit of a toll on the way that I do my ministry, and this has always been a labour of love. I've loved everything that we've done here, but to do it on your only day off and to not be able to rest and recuperate the way that you should as a priest, I've started to feel the effects of that. And so I'm going to be stepping away from the podcast, which you guys all know, but we thought we owed that explanation to the audience. So Against the Grain will continue, and Anth, I'll give you an opportunity to talk about that. But I'm going to have a bit of a rest now. But it's not the last you've seen of me in the online space. There'll be, I suppose, collaborations with other people. There'll be content that I'll start to create, which is more catechetical. So I'll be working on all sorts of things as we move into 2025. But I wanted to say that because I owe it to audience, I owe it to you guys, and I didn't want anyone to speculate as to why Father Ben isn't on the show anymore. That's the honest truth, is that I'm a Catholic priest. My ministry must always come first. And when I consider this to be ministry, but when you're doing ministry 7 days a week, it starts to take its toll a little bit. So I'm in good health. Don't want anyone to worry. Whilst I may have been coughing up a lung through this episode, I am in good health. It's all good, but it's just a matter of getting the balance right. And that's something that continuing this podcast would restrict me from doing. So I hope to be on every now and then as a guest, if you'll have me back.
Think about it. Of course.
But we'll even use this platform when everything is up and running with the other stuff. We might even come back on this platform to help promote some of that content into the future. But so that's all I'll say about that. But I want everyone to continue supporting Against the Grain in whatever format it takes into next season, to continue to like and to subscribe and to comment and to follow and to do all the things that have made this show great. I want you to continue to support this show because it's very much needed in this space. Do you have any ideas yet of what you're going to be doing next season?
It's different conversations with many different people. It will ideally still be I say ideally, the plan is for it still to be a weekly drop, with a different person every time. We'll just sit and have a chat. It'll very much be the footy and faith, it's just it'll carry the same mission, to speak about the two, what we say are the religions in Australia, to have fun with the footy, but just to learn just more about the faith. We have a responsibility as Catholics to our own, I guess, according to our own capabilities, to learn as much as we can, and to grow as close as we can, of course, to our Lord. So hopefully that show continues to do it. It might look a little bit different. It might sound a little bit different. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it will, actually, because there's no bald head with a beard or the wittiness or anything like that. The clever dad jokes from Father Ben. But yeah, it will still very much carry the same sort of format, the faith and footy. And hopefully you guys can still enjoy what comes of it and learn as much as you have from the past 2 seasons. Abuna, I just want to say personally, thank you so much. This whole thing started off with the most random idea of something I never thought I would do. I always said this isn't a face for TV. This isn't a voice for radio.
You're talking about Father Ben?
I never know me, myself. Definitely not Father Ben. It was something that I always said. I studied journalism solely to write. I never saw myself doing anything like this. It's something that I wouldn't say is a natural strength of mine. Probably still isn't a strength necessarily, but I'm still learning. I would not have done it. There was not a single chance of having done it without Father Ben agreeing to do it. So Sarah and shout out to Brendan were the ones who helped me, encouraged me to I don't know, consider the idea. And as soon as Father Ben said yes, I was like, yeah, we're on. I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone else. Father Ben was always a big brother to me, and then now a spiritual father to me. And you hear my voice getting shaky. And honestly, it genuinely has been so much fun. Every time we sit here and every time I laugh on camera, like everyone always mentions that, like your chemistry with Father Ben and you're laughing. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but
it's
people
one
say
of
your
the
laugh is so
attractions of the show.
contagious.
That's right.
But they're genuine laughs. That's why. Like, Father Ben is just the champion. There's, I don't know. Like, you know how much you mean to me. Like, I don't need to tell you that, do I, in front of everyone?
No, you don't.
It's like, it's hard to get the words out now, you know? My voice is getting shaky. Sarah's tearing up.
Sure.
So what do you think about me?
I'll get to you in a second. I'll get to you. But yeah, Father Ben, like, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you so much. The podcast would be nowhere near where it is now without you. It would be non-existent without you, but even if it were to exist, it wouldn't be what it is. I know that all the bips will miss seeing your head and hearing your voice on this podcast. But believe it or not, they will not miss you as much as I will. I don't know. I don't want to go on for too long, but
God bless you, man.
thank you so much. I love you, Abuna. Love you with all my heart, honestly, with all my heart.
And I you, brother. And I you. Honestly,
Thank you.
It's been a joy every week.
Yeah, it has.
And we are going to build
Yes.
from this. So this is not the end.
Yeah.
It is the end of the beginning of these chapters of what we've done in this space. And we know it to be positive, and it's been reacted to very well. And so there's going to be nothing but growth over the next, for as much energy and passion and prayer as you want to put into this. I know it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
So you always will have my support moving forward.
Thank you.
If you're desperate for a guest, call me, and if I'm free, I'll be there.
You'll. I mean, I'm not forcing you or anything,
Yeah.
but you'll be back on. No, you'll, you know. We spoke about it. You know, we'll have our DX reunions and. It's been such a pleasure, and I don't know if you guys want to say anything as well.
I'm struggling as it is.
Yeah, but just I guess before you guys say anything, if you want to add, Father Ben, we just as a thank you so much for everything you've done. You kind of busted us before the episode started, but we tried to surprise you. Kind of failed in that sense, but
Yes.
It was your idea to get a canvas, just to get the guests to sign their name, signature, and a message on the favorite Bible quote. You said it every week that we had a guest on there, starting from Josh Alloye, his episode. So what we want to do is, as a thank you from the team, is to gift you with that very canvas.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's for you to have.
That is special.
Just.
That's going to go up in the office in my big blank
awesome.
wall.
Oh, awesome. There you go.
I've been looking for something, and that's where that's going to go.
Beautiful. Yeah,
That is so kind of you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's
Because that's
the least we can do.
That's the testament to the hard work and the guests that we've had, and
sure.
that's beautiful.
And the bottom was still very blank. So we thought it'd be a great idea just to sign our own messages at the bottom. So you have a couple of essays to get through at the bottom of those. Not a couple, a few.
No, that's amazing.
And they're quite profound individually, but they're all better together.
I knew you'd say one.
Honestly. That is beautiful. That is generous. And if I can just have some words of response, it's been a pleasure doing this every week. And even the concept, the idea, you were the brainchild behind it. And then we came together and we just made something special happen. I want to re-emphasize that this is not the end. I don't want people to think, after this, that's it.
Yeah.
I'll be producing content eventually. I'm sure there'll be many collaborations. You'll be producing content. And ultimately, this is the mission. It's all about the mission, is to promote our Lord, to inspire people with stories, to help people with the church and what she teaches. And especially sometimes in the space of teachings that are a little bit difficult to grasp, teachings that have been abused or overlooked. Yeah. Like we're going to look to all of that. But mate, your nervous laugh when you ask a question, like
so annoying.
Like
gosh.
And then you ask a question. then your laughter, your ability to draw out a story that should only go for a minute but goes for 5. These are all trademarks of the show that have made it what it is. Like I love the way people comment about you. Like your laughter and your smile brings joy to people. And so God gave you that nervous quip in your laugh so that they'll be like, oh, there he is again, laughing and smiling. Like, it's a beautiful thing that you have. It's a gift. I wish you all the best with your journalism, written and beyond, whatever that might look like, and with the podcast in the direction that you want to take it in. But with people like Sarah and Anthony that have been supporting the whole time, I know it's going to be nothing but success if you continue with this work ethic and you keep moving forward. Just not as an aside, but as a thank you to both Sarah and Anthony. Yeah. Sarah, without your efforts, the podcast doesn't get promoted the way that it does. So you've just been driving it and making sure that things are posted, and a lot of your captions on things and all sorts of stuff that happens. You drive a lot of it and you help us be exposed to the world. And so your knowledge of social media and the like, I have loved every moment of it, and your energy. So thank you.
Thank you.
But most importantly, thank you for being a friend, and for being on the journey. Like we're all 4 of us, for people at home, like we get on so well. We've had our misunderstandings. We've had our disagreements about direction of show and the way things come together. But we get on so well, which has meant that it has been a joy to produce each and every week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And then, of course, remiss of me not to mention the Catholic Wizard. This guy is here setting up half an hour before we shoot. He's made himself available. He's given his time and his energy to us. It's no secret, all 3 of us have admitted to this, that the person that spends the most time on the podcast is our Catholic Wizard. For him to produce, to edit, to make sure that an episode is released basically 48 hours after it's shot is a big ask. And he does it sometimes at the expense of sleep, sometimes at the expense of not spending time with his family. Like, the guy just has a heart for this type of ministry and this space in the church. So, and Anthony, you've been a friend to me. You've been someone that I've been able to call and talk to and ask you about direction forward and all sorts of things. And I think he's been a bit of a big brother to all of us when it comes to the setup, the space, and he's just made it seamless every week.
Yeah.
I love what Anthony always says. Assume the answer will be yes, and we'll work from there. So whenever you're asking him something, that's the generosity of the guy. So I hope, and please correct me now, because I tried to do it the other week and I don't think I got it right, but I hope that many people engage this man and help his business grow, which is
Ministry Digital Media.
Ministry Digital Media.
Yep. I've changed it to Ministry Media.
Yep.
But I haven't changed the website.
Okay.
So just leave it as it is.
So his passion is to help produce Catholic content, good, solid Catholic content.
Yep.
So we need to be supporting people like this in this area. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Okay. It's not a goodbye. It's a see you later. And it will be that, and we will support each other moving forward. But just so we wanted everyone at home to know that the formats of things will be a little bit different moving into next year.
Yeah. I second both thank yous. And also just to let everyone know, we still very much have a personal relationship with each other. We're not never talking to each other ever again or anything like that. I know this has become it's become its own thing, that, like it gets hard to say goodbye and things like that in that sense, but we still very much, we'll have chats, catch up.
Yeah, we hang out, we do it all.
We hang out. Father Ben will very much be a massive part of our wedding, God willing. Just, I don't know, just to let people know, we very much have a personal relationship with each other that's not ending.
Yeah, and
though it may sound like it.
For my own reason, was pretty much the decision, was just the rest and the balance. So just so people know that, I didn't want people to assume that
beefing and stuff.
There's beef and stuff.
Yeah. Although it might work for a future like boxing belt or something
Yeah, maybe for charity.
for clout.
Yeah.
Maybe for charity.
Clout.
Isn't that the word?
Yes, well done.
Yeah, for charity.
Yeah, you and I will beef.
No. Father Ben versus Father Ronnie.
Oh,
Now that's the draw card.
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
rip!
See, look how quickly he agreed.
Yeah.
What a rip!
No, we
if
wouldn't
anyone's
do that.
wondering,
No
Father
way.
Ronnie's not.
Father Ronnie's not a fan of the combat sports.
No.
He's
Or the
not.
podcast.
Well, especially MMA. Or the podcast. What a rip!
So that's we all know now as to the way we're moving forward. Was for my own personal reasons of rest and balance, but the space here will continue to exist, albeit a different format. And then when that rest and balance is achieved, I'll think about the way that I'm going to be in the space when it comes to what I've been ordained to do, and that is to preach and to spread the word of God and to sanctify the people of God. And we can do that now in the online space, which we will do moving forward. So that's a 2024 season. All right, we're going to pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of this day, for the gift of our lives, for the gift of this podcast, but most of all for the gift of your Son. We pray for all those who have been part of this podcast, both in front and behind of the camera, for those that have helped promote, for those that have watched and listened. We pray that the episodes that we have released have been edifying to the people of God, to all of those who tune in each and every week, that they might find consolation and healing through all of the episodes that we've released over these 53 or 54 episodes, thereabouts. But we thank you for the gift of being able to produce content each week. We ask that you continue to bless and sanctify the people of God through their own manner of lives. And we pray especially for our team here, for both Anthony's and for Sarah and for myself as we move forward. And we pray that our main motivation will always be to glorify you through your Son Jesus and all of the saints. We ask all these prayers through the intercession of Mary as we pray together. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. One last time. Remember our Lord Jesus Christ says, you are the salt of the earth. What good is salt if it loses its taste? So stay salty.
And don't be afraid to go against the grain.
God bless you all.